Hello everyone, in this video you'll be learning how to integrate Logan API to your NodeJS applications. Before we get started, I'd like to say a few things about myself. So I'm Raphael, I lead the developer relations team at Logan. Basically this involves getting to know developers, getting feedback from developers, and seeing how best we can work together with developers to achieve each other's goals. Now, I'm going to delve a bit into Logan. Logan is the world's largest provider for airtime top-ups and gift cards. Right now, we cover over 140 countries and 700 operators in different currencies for airtime top-ups. Now let's move on to what we'll be learning today. Step by step, we'll start a NodeJS app from scratch, install Logan's SDK, start an instance where you can retrieve your access token, start a second instance where you can view your balance, and a final instance where you can make a top-up using the NodeJS SDK. Now let's head on to that. So before we get started, some basic things you're going to need to find this tutorial useful include an ID on your laptop, basic understanding of JavaScript and NodeJS, and your access keys from your Logan account. If you're here to create a Logan account, I provided a link below this video where you can do that. Now let's get started. Okay, so once we're done installing Express, the next thing we're going to do is declare our Logan SDK modules and also declare Express in this application. So let's go ahead and do that. Also declare Express as well. Next thing we'll do is to create a new Express application and also have the application recognize all incoming requests as JSON requests. So let's do that. Okay, after that, what we want to do right now is see how we can make a GET request to a new path which we'll be creating right here on the spot. We'll call that path token, right? Let's just create a name for it to symbolize what we're trying to create here, right? So let's just do that now. GET token. So basically this will contain an async request to Logan servers, which will then fetch our access token as a response. That's what we plan to achieve anyway. So we'll proceed by defining our GET request using the SDK's built-in methods. Pasting my client ID and secret here. These are test ID and secret, by the way. Okay. Okay, so just to briefly go over what we've done here. I defined a new instance of the authentication API, the beauty authentication API, which takes in client ID and secret as parameters for making that request, and also uses this core API as well as the top-up test URL for this request. Okay, so moving on, I'll head on to define other parameters that we need for this and variables as well. So to confirm our request was successful, we'll log a response to our terminal. Then we'll also send the response to the client-facing side of our app. Just paste in some HTML boilerplate code here. Close this with backticks. So basically what I want to say here is, send any kind of message to users out there saying, you can just say your access token has been received. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so now we are done. We can just have our app server listen on any ports. Let's choose 3000 for this. Okay, so now let's try and test the server and see how it works. Okay, so let's save this, start up a new server and see how this works. Let's go to our browser and check this out. Okay, so we can see the message we specified for our users is right here, and let's confirm that we can see the access token in our terminal as well. Okay, so we can also see that as well. Right, great. So basically this script shows how we can get our access token and also display a message to our users on the front end that this works. So let's move on to the second part of this tutorial, which is basically using our SDK to check our reload account balance. To do that, we'll start by creating a second file here, name it balance.js. So in balance.js, what we're going to be defining and importing will be the SDK modules, most of which we use when checking out our access token. We'll be importing almost everything aside the authentication module. We won't be needing that here. So we'll start by importing the airtime module. So that requires really this airtime module basically. Then we'll also import reload this core module. Then also import express for obvious reasons. right? So basically, we're just going through the same process we went through when as creating our access token and retrieving the access token, right? We're defining a new app, creating an instance of Express here, ensuring that responses are done and gotten in JSON. So for the guest route, we'll be defining here, we'll create a new route, which is basically a balanced route for this particular request. Create an async function that takes in your REQ and RES parameters and makes a request to the airtime API. So as usual, here will contain an instance of Reload's airtime API that defines and also contains our client's credentials. Pasting the client credentials now. Again, remember that it's really important that you only paste in test credentials here and not the live credentials, right? So after that, I'll be calling on Reload this core API as well. Specifying the URL as a test URL here. Right. So basically what we've done here is define a variable that gives us access to our Reloadly accounts, right? Once we've gotten access, we can then retrieve our account balance. So let's try to do that now. Okay. Right. So just as we log the access token, we'll also be logging our balance as well. Then we'll display a message on the front end just so our users know what's going on, just as we did last time. Let's copy and paste this for the clipboard. Okay. And close that with backticks. Then last thing we need to do is to specify where we want our server to be run. This has been done in a separate port as port 3000 is in use, so you can go for port 4000 here. So let's save this, open up a new terminal and run this right now. And let's head onto our browser and see if this worked out. In the tab here, host 4000 / balance. Right, cool. So now we can see our daily account balance on front end, and this will also be visible to our users as well. Now let's confirm if this works on the server as well. Great. So we can also see this not only on the browser but on our terminal as well, right? So this shows how we can basically use our SDK to fetch our account balance as well, display it for users both on the front end and also render it on the back end as well, right? So the final part of this tutorial will be to use our SDK and make an airtime recharge. The methods we'll be using here will basically be the same as what we used when creating an access token and retrieving our account balance. So let's start by creating a new file called airtime.js. Now in this file, we'll be importing basically the same modules as we imported in balance.js, which is reload this airtime module and also reload this core module as well. So let's proceed to define those. The airtime really core as well. We also import express. Then the next thing we'll do is to instantiate a new express application and also specify that we want this application to accept incoming requests and also responses in JSON as well. Right. So basically what we're going to do now is create a new request which will contain our credentials and also the details for the airtime recharge we want to make. So let's get started. So we'll make use of a try catch statement here, just as we did when viewing our balance. Only this time we'll make use of a top-up method instead of the accounts method. So let's do that. We need to include the mobile number details of our airtime recharge, right? These details would include the mobile number itself, the mobile number's operator ID, the amount we want to recharge to that mobile number, and the sender's mobile number as well, right? So let's go ahead and include these. Creating a new instance of this top up, and we are using this with an inbuilt method called phone top up request, right? So this will include all the mobile number details in this order. The first detail you want to include is the amount. Let's go for 20 naira here. Then the operator ID. I'm working with MTN Nigeria here, so basically that's 341. I'm going to reload this database. Then we can also use a second inbuilt method, right, that specifies the phone number. Okay, just reload the top of the phone, and this specifies the phone number you are sending the top up to, right? So I'll just include my mobile number here, as well as the country code where this is being sent to, right? Okay, so once you do that, your request is good to go, right? One last thing we need to do here is create a second try catch statement. And console log details of the airtime recharge to our terminal, right? Then we also need to display a message for our users on the front end as well. It's really important. For this, we'll just paste in the usual HTML code with some modifications, right? Putting in some tactics here. Okay, so let's take a moment to explain this, right? So for the top of details, what we want to do is pass through the response body and highlight certain properties, right? So here we'll choose to highlight the transaction ID, and for the delivery amount, we want to highlight the delivered amount, the figure, as well as the currency code, which is basically the currency denomination which this top up was made in, right? We'll also highlight the transaction dates where the top up was made, right? So let's complete our try catch statement. Then we also get our to listen on the different ports for changes and updates. Let's go with port 5000 this time, seeing that 3000 and 4000 are taken. Okay, so we're all set here. Let's save this, open up a new terminal, and kickstart the server. Right. Now let's head on to the browser to see if this works. Great. So now we can see our airtime recharge details on the front end, right? Here we can see our transaction ID, delivered amounts, as well as the transaction dates and time. This is awesome. Let's check back on our terminal to see if the details of the airtime recharge are also there. Awesome. So we can see the full details of the airtime recharge here. Contains the operator name, ID, country code, recipient email, and other important details as well. So basically this brings the end of this tutorial, and I hope you guys were able to learn how to work with NodeJS SDK. I hope this was quite informative and educative as well. If you have any comments or any questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the comment section below. And also I'll be including a link to this demo in the comment section as well, so you can catch up on that, right? For other questions or anything you may need, feel free to reach out through our Slack community channel. I'll be sharing links to that below as well. Thank you guys, and stay safe. Bye.